There's no telling where we've been. And all I know is that if you can't find me, you may never want to find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Hey guys, happy Tuesday, and we have all dragged ourselves here against our wills for I think a lot of these cases going into the show today, but we are here for yet another episode of the Barroom Podcast, episode 41, and I'm here with my lovely group of regulars here joining us here today. Joining us in spirit is our good buddy Orange Hat Reviews. How you doing today, Orange?
I'm doing well. How y'all doing?
It sounds like you're doing pretty well over there. I know you've had a rough go of things. It seems like the kidney stones is going over on you at the moment. So, hopefully that turns around pretty well for you.
Well, painkillers. They're a wonderful drug.
Yeah. Don't get too addicted to morphine now. Apparently that's not a good thing, but that's for another conversation.
So I've been told.
Yeah.
No promises.
Also joining us here today is Mr. Rob Motto. How you doing, Rob?
Oh, I'm pretty good. So I lost my real job today. So I suppose I don't have any excuse to not write more about movies. But yeah, no, I'm fairly optimistic in general because just coming off John Wick 4, trying not to overrate it. I didn't want to give it a 4 out of 5. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 last night, but really enjoyed that. Like that was probably the best movie I saw in theaters for at least the last 2 or 3 years, at least since 2019. So I'm feeling relatively optimistic, even though the slate of movies, when you look at the schedule, doesn't look great. So we'll see what 2023 holds the rest of the way.
And joining us, also going through some things, Cole Classic Cage. How you doing today? Black shirt, black hoodie.
What's good, everyone? Good to be here as always. Just chilling, hanging out, taking it easy, but always fun to be here. That's why, obviously, I want to be here.
Yep, and somewhere fighting the cats and dogs that roam her house randomly is C.S. Johnson. How you doing tonight?
Hey. Oh, it's good that I have to fight them off, or I'd probably fall over.
Yep. Well, this is our second week in a row that we're on Rumble, because now we're streaming on Rumble now. So we're live on YouTube, Twitch, and on Rumble, all of those at the same time. So all the links should be below in the description. If I have not added the Rumble channel, nope, it's there. Okay, just wanted to make sure that I did add that one down there. But yeah, all of our stuff are down there, and we're live and we're ready to go. There's a lot of topics. There's a lot of hot topics to start off tonight. I think there's going to be some heated discussions. But before I get into that, let me go ahead and introduce our guys who are in the chat right now. Neo poses a very interesting question right off the gate. Would you rather pimp slack Kevin Feige or Seth Rogen? For me, the answer is always going to be Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I don't care what Kevin Feige has done with the MCU. Rogen is always going to be number one on that list.
I agree.
I'd jam a freaking umbrella up both of their asses.
What else we got here? We got Zio Dozer beating Map to the punch. Yeah, Spencer's a little bit late today. Hint, wink, wink. Just throwing that out there. Neo says, hey, people of the bar room, rest in peace to the 3 people who were, the 3 children and 3 elders who were killed in the Nashville Christian shooting yesterday. Yeah, we will loop back to that later on in the show because it does come up in one of our topics today. So, hey, Neo. Zio Dozer, like I said, gave a shout out to him as well. Say, hey, girls and girls. Cassie's going to be harassing you guys throughout the course of the night. I'm pretty sure Johnson will also be harassing you throughout the course of the night as well. So just as long as you go.
It's not harassment if they gave me their permission. So.
Yeah. Hassan tried to take a stab of Eric July, thinking that Eric wouldn't know. Yeah, I mean, look, the Hassan guy's an idiot. Let's just put it that way. Our good buddy John Hickshaw is here tonight. How you doing there, Johnny boy? I should just give you the links to like one of these shows one of these days, just so you can jump on. I mean, you don't contribute much, but it's nice to have you here occasionally when we do get to have you on the show. But yeah, shout out to John there. And then, I heard that the predictions for a Dungeons and Dragons movie would be the worst box office than Shazam 2. Yeah, it's not a movie that anyone is truly looking forward to. We even decided that we were going to do a movie night instead of covering next Monday night. So next Monday night we'll be reviewing Cobra with Sylvester Stallone. next week. So just a little invite for you guys for watching this on Twitch, and then we'll try on Rumble too. I'm not sure how the Rumble portion of it's gonna go, but we'll give it a shot. So
My biggest question with the Dungeons and Dragons movie is if it'll be better than the one that came out in like the late 90s.
don't hold your breath.
No, because I saw that in theaters. I'm trying to remember if it was 99 or 98.
I
Something
want to
like
say
that.
it was late 90s because like Flora Birch was in it. And
Yeah, one of the Wayans brothers,
Yep.
and Jeremy Irons. So
If it was
Yeah,
one of the
it's-
Waynes, it was probably Marlon, because I don't think Sean has really done much acting since the
White Chicks.
scary movie. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah,
it was bad.
not
I
great.
mean, I know it was bad, but it's like we got Tessa Thompson and other
Chris
people
Pine.
that, other people that are on the they're looking for a comeback, shall we say?
I've heard mostly positive things about it, from early reviews, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But even just audience reactions, I heard that people have a really good time with it, but it's very silly and very like they want. I think they want families to go to it. Is how it's being
Okay.
marketed.
Well, my family will skip, thanks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Kind of just sounds like maybe it'll be fun, but it's essentially kind of just more of the same that we've seen from Hollywood for a very long time. So,
Yep. Don't hold your breath. That's all I got to say. Well, let's go on and talk to our big story of kind of the entire week, which was the sudden downfall of Mr. Jonathan Majors. Now, if you've been listening to this show the last few weeks, last couple of months, we've talked about this guy a lot because Hollywood has this massive marketing campaign around this guy. He's essentially the chosen one to be the next big star of Hollywood, whether you like it or not. They put him in Ant-Man, that film bombed. They put him in Creed 3. The box office was okay for that movie. I mean, performance-wise, he did pretty well, but they're all in on him, and to the point where they've pretty much dedicated the entire next 3 or 4 years of MCU films around Jonathan Majors and his character of Kang the Conqueror. They even started doing ads for him. He's doing military ads now, so he's recruiting people to the U.S. Army during NCAA basketball. This is how much they had I guess, invested into him. And then Saturday night at the dead of night, we found out that, oh yeah, by the way, he was arrested for harassment, assault, possibly beat up his girlfriend. This is everything that was alleged. So the story has grown a little bit since then. We'll go ahead and pull up this story here. Give me 1 second because my layouts have changed for some weird reason. Thanks, StreamYard. But can you guys see me, or am I just completely? I don't know why that's.
yeah, I see you.
Okay, yeah. My whole thing is kind of screwed up right now, so if it looks weird on my end, yeah, no. We'll try it like this one. It looks a lot better. So Jonathan Majors was arrested this Saturday night on allegations that he got into a physical altercation with a girl in Brooklyn heading home from a bar in the area. So this is essentially what's happened. We'll give you all the news and all the updates here. But he was arrested this past weekend for allegedly strangling, assaulting, and harassing a woman in New York. As we found out as the time going on that the girl was allegedly his girlfriend. We'll get to that here in a second, but responding to a 911 call, the New York Police Department took the Creed 3 star into custody on Saturday for an alleged domestic altercation. On TMZ reported that he got into an argument on the way home in a taxi from a bar. The sources says that the girlfriend, who is the victim in this case, saw another woman texting Majors, confronting him, trying to sneak a peek at his phone. We were told that the alleged victim girlfriend claims that Majors got mad. Allegedly, he grabbed her hand and slapped her. So this was a domestic dispute between, I guess, the girl thought that maybe he was cheating on her, whatever the case may be. Things got a little awry, and then this is what happened here. We're told that the alleged victim claims that he put his hands on her, around her neck during this altercation. Sources say that the woman was dropped off somewhere else, and then Jonathan Majors spent the night elsewhere. He said it appears that the girlfriend went to the police the following morning, which was Saturday, to report the crime. On Sunday, the actor's defense attorney said that Jonathan Majors is completely innocent and is probably the victim in this altercation with a woman that he knows. We are quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped intermittently, she said. That's in a statement. The statement also claims that there's video evidence of the incident which would clear Majors of any wrongdoing, as well as testimony from witnesses and the alleged footage of the unnamed woman recanting her allegations. Now, a lot of people said that the woman recanted. Everything that I've seen, that's only from the defense attorney that I've seen that from. I haven't seen that reported anywhere else at this moment. So we're going based on the information that we have right now. All the evidence proves that Mr. Majors is entirely innocent, did not insult her whatsoever. The New York PD is required to make an arrest in these situations, and that was the only reason why Mr. Majors was arrested. I want to say that the incident came about because this woman was having an emotional crisis, for which she was taken into a hospital yesterday. And there's conflicting statements regarding that. The victim informed police that she was assaulted. Officers placed 33-year-old Majors into custody without incident. And then that was what we had up until about Saturday night. Now, I do have a quick little update on this story, because this was, I guess, an update from... today or yesterday, well, a combination of the two. Says here's that Majors was charged in the alleged assault. This is, like I said, repeating a lot of the stuff that we just mentioned here. It says that according to a New York City district attorney, he was charged on several counts. 1 account of assault in the 3rd degree, 3 counts of attempted assault in the 3rd degree, 1 count of aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, and 1 count of harassment in the 2nd degree. So these are all the charges that Majors is facing right now. He says he is being lifted a limited order of protection as well, based on all this. And then this is really just repeating what we just said here. So they say the defense for Jonathan Majors saying that, hey, no, don't look into this. This is all going to go away here. But it looks like New York City is moving forward with these charges of an alleged incident that happened over this weekend. So this is what we have right now. There hasn't been any major updates as of this recording. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this over to you guys. So I guess I'll start with Rob here. What do you think about the charges placed upon Jonathan Majors? And what do you think about the future, his future? Where could this possibly go bad, and where could it possibly get good for Major? Because it doesn't look pretty good right now.
Yeah, I'm certainly not a legal expert, so I don't know how serious the charges are. Looking at them, it's like 3rd and 2nd degree misdemeanors. But so I mean, I don't know how much there's going to be a legal consequence for him. I think PR wise, Disney having the sort of cover boy. Having domestic violence charges levied against him. I don't know if he'll plead guilty or if he'll just try to beat them, but it's not good. No matter how you want to cut it, it's just not good. Regardless of the legal ramifications for Jonathan Majors, I think this is going to impact his career pretty severely. Unless she completely recants and says, I did this to myself, or because it sounds like basically they have enough physical evidence to just say, hey, to the jury, hey, look at these pictures, like look at the basic evidence that we have against him in this case. And so they feel confident enough to sort of proceed with that. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Cassie, I want to shoot this question over to you, because I've been looking at this whole story. Look, I've given Majors a lot of shit just by the way that they've gone anointed him with the Roman Reigns push in Hollywood over the last a few months. But I look at this 2 ways. One, he could have easily have done this. And another thing that I forgot to mention here is that there have been a couple of, I guess, producers or directors who have come out and said that, no, this guy has a history of being violent, and that the media has pretty much hit this over the course of the last few months because they're trying to prop him up to be the next big thing. So that's kind of on their front. Maybe they were just waiting for him to, like I said, try to attack him while he's down, to come out with those allegations. And on the other side, he could have been having some emotional fight with this woman who he was seeing. We don't know exactly her mental state. She could just be, a complete crazy person as well, and maybe he is innocent in all this. But I'm just waiting to see any kind of evidence be presented one way or another that says that either he did this or she lied about the whole thing or somewhere in between. But what do you think of the case, the way it's been presented, at least right now?
Yeah, honestly, when I look at this whole situation, I can't really give a genuine opinion here. There's just too many questions. It's like when you look at this, you see the situation. It's like, yeah, perhaps maybe she was in an irrational state. And at the end of the day, we, after years of believe all women, it goes to show that women lie. So it's one thing. And then there's also just bad people in the world that think that they can put their hands on whoever they want, especially even people closest to them. So it's like, I really, these things are completely both possible. Maybe she was in an irrational state of mind and maybe was, acting out and decided to do this to hurt him. That's, what domestic individuals can tend to do at times and, when they're having a dispute. But it's like I could play both sides of this situation. Yeah, maybe she was trying to be spiteful and ruin him because of maybe something that they were going through. And then there's the other side, maybe his lawyers were pressing her to take it back, even though maybe he did do something. Maybe hush money is involved, or maybe they're pressing her with all these possible legal disputes. And it's hard to say. There's too many questions of why. You have to ask, why did she call the police? Why did this become a domestic dispute in which the police had to take him away? Where did these wounds come from? How did she get these wounds on her? And, is she sound of mind or not? These are questions that I have to ask. That's why I can't really give a genuine opinion on the situation, for, to benefit. I hope that the least, vindictive thing has happened here. I don't want to see anyone be harmed by anybody. I'm a very anti-violent person in general. So, hopefully maybe she just had a moment and she does recant and that nothing did happen. But it's like, I don't know. And I'm not going to really give an opinion on it. I need more information. And it seems as though a lot of it is being hidden from public view. So, that makes me suspicious.
Yeah, there's a lot of chess moves being played behind the scenes right now. Just don't know exactly who those moves are being played for. Orange, let me ask you a quick question here. Zio brings up a good point. It's like, why is Ezra Miller scot-free right now with his rap sheet and everything that he's been alleged of doing over the last, I know we've talked about it for the last year, but you can go back even further than that, but Majors may have his career destroyed on one allegation. I would say this, the key difference to me right now seems to be the fact that his alleged crime happened in the state of New York, where, as we all know, the state of New York is not exactly on the up and up when it comes to the justice side of things. This is the state that for the last 2 weeks has been telling everyone that they were going to arrest Donald Trump based on some allegation with Stormy Daniels, and then when the heat got too big, they were like, well, you know what, maybe we'll just hold off on our old arresting a former president thing. So that's what it seems to be with me. But do you see any parallels here between Majors and Ezra Miller?
The reason why they won't touch Ezra Miller's a they, them, freak, delusional, psychotic. Majors, the only representation box he gets to chalk off is that he's black. Now, as much as the whole identity politics scale goes, black does not, the more you have, the more you can get away with things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just being black won't get you that much in the way of things. Plus, the way that I see this is there's a lot more parallels to this with Johnny Depp than there is with Ezra Miller. Because this crap, apparently this woman started shit with him. And he may have defended himself. That's something that a lot of people are not championing today because they're afraid that they're going to be seen as women haters or whatever. If a person puts their hands on you, man or woman, You have a right to defend yourself. If he did so in defense, I will not fault him at all. Unfortunately, in the state of New York, they tend to lean more Me Too violence and tend to lean the woman's way. But I'm thinking he's getting a bad rap when when the full facts are not out. That's the problem with cancel culture and court of public opinion. That crap should be completely outlawed, in my opinion, because it's only servicing to hurt people in the legal ramifications where due process is actually harmed by these sort of things. Jonathan Majors, if he instigated a fight, he put hands on the woman and choked her out without her instigating it, he is definitely in the wrong. He should be held to account. But if he did defend himself to get her off of him and away from him, and yeah, if his hands went around her throat to get her away, I'm sorry, that is justified, especially if this woman is presenting a clear enough threat that is causing bodily harm. I'm
I
a
will say
person that
though,
champions self-defense.
there's use of force and levels of it.
Yeah.
If she's now, choking, I think is a bit excessive. Now, if he gave her a shove, like back off, I think that is justifiable if she's going after his property. I wholeheartedly believe in defending one's property. But yeah, definitely we have to measure use of force and given the situation. Was he particularly lashing out in a malicious manner? Or was he simply just trying to, get
Keep
her away from
at bay, but
him?
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Just by a person grabbing a person by the throat does not automatically mean they are choking. When it comes to self-defense and other things, the one place that you can get purchased, not necessarily to grab, but to apply enough of a grip to actually get some distance between you two, is the neck area. Putting them or trying to get around an arm or anything else, you're dealing in a struggle. Getting that area, you are guaranteeing the most distance between you and an attacking person.
Well, here's the problem.
Necessarily mean to grip.
Here's the problem for Jonathan Majors, and it's twofold. It's like, one, I can totally see a scenario where maybe she thought that he was cheating on her because he saw that he was texting someone, and then she confronted him, and then she went to like grab his phone. Maybe he tried to pull away, and then she started attacking him, and then he started to attack back to like defend himself, or maybe he was defensive about it. I can see a scenario like that happening. Here's the problem with that: is that the only way to prove that that's exactly what happened is that the case would have to go to court, and that would be the worst case scenario for Jonathan Majors right now, having an active domestic abuse case go to court with the possibility that he can be found guilty and his career will definitely be destroyed. Now, like everything you said about, well, what if he was defending himself, what if she was the aggressor and whatnot, that's all true in that, but if you go to a court situation and those details make it out, even if he does find a way to be found innocent and everything, they'll still find a way to twist that. His career won't recover from that, especially at the point that they have him in right now, where, like I said, Disney has pretty much banked the entire next 4 years of the MCU around Jonathan Majors in one way or another. So if this goes any further than this, if we don't hear anything about, charges being dropped or anything like that in the next coming weeks, like, this is going to end up pretty bad for him, and maybe he doesn't deserve to have the downfall be like this, but we all know the way that the court of public opinion works. So
that's why it needs to go.
And Johnson, I wanted to actually kind of your thoughts about this story, where you stand on it.
Well, I mean, I agree with the whole, like, women shouldn't be believed, like, just on the basis that they're women. Mm-hmm. I know plenty of women who are liars. So
yeah.
I'm not going to self-incriminate either. But it kind of reminds me of the whole Justin Roiland stuff that's going on. I guess all his charges got dropped recently.
Yeah. The Rick and Morty guy who was, I think, I don't know much, was he charged with domestic violence, or was it just allegations of it? I think
he was charged, but it was charged based on an allegation from it. Like, he said it was from like an embittered ex or something, and the the article I was reading.
Yep.
So
Then the charges got dropped not too long ago. But of course, that
Yeah.
didn't help save his career because he pretty much lost his job and everything that went along with it just based on the allegations as well.
yeah, and I mean that's where I stand. I'm like I'm very pro due process. Like I when people ask me stuff like this, I usually just say I'm pro good this thing. Like you need good cops. Okay. I'm not for bad cops. I'm pro good cop. I'm pro good teacher. I'm pro good parent, like
Yeah.
like these are and due process is kind of like process of sorting it all out. And I do think it is better on some level to like finish it up as quickly as you can. But some person will always come back to it and be like, hey, remember that time when you um but on the other hand, I mean, look at Robert Downey Jr. I mean, like he's had a lot of run-ins with, drugs and rehab and stuff, and people love him today because he had his, big comeback moment. And I don't know, maybe the more cynical part of me, if we're gonna go on conspiracy theories, it's like, oh, this will garner sympathy for him.
Yeah.
So, and we are coming into that point in the Me Too movement where it's like, okay, women, you've had your say, now shut up and get back into the kitchen. So
Yeah. I think we'll reach the point with a lot of these movies where people have quite had enough. Like I said, we'll save that for later on here. But
I
Yeah.
do want to say something real quick. So I remember the initial reports came out things about strangulation. Now that is a felony charge. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm interested to see that when it came out to what they charged him with, that wasn't part of it at all. So I'll be interested to see what actual evidence they have to be able to like have arrested him like right away and took him into custody. So
Yeah, I mean, as it stands right now, this can easily go either way for Majors. Like, this could end up just being, something that can, and like I said, some money gets pushed aside, and then this whole thing, goes under the rug, never heard from again. Or this could end up being, a bad thing. And because we don't really have too much information right now, we don't exactly know where this is gonna end. But any final thoughts about this story before we move on to our next one?
I don't think his career should be destroyed because of it, by the sound of it. Like, I mean, he could have some kind of sex dungeon under his house and maybe destroy his career for that. But let's find the proof first. So
See, here's the thing, and Neil brings up a good question. Let's say, for the sake of argument, they are in a position where they have to get rid of Majors. Do they just recast the character of Kang, or do they just say we need to move an entire direction altogether? Here's the problem: they've already announced the next two Avengers movie, and one of them is called the Kang Dynasty. So you already advertised that Kang is going to have to be the villain in the next Avengers movie because that's how you set it up. And then if you did watch Ant-Man, you set it up with arena full of Kangs, and they all look exactly like Jonathan Majors. Like, you went out of your way to do this. Like I said, you race swapped the character and made him the temple for this entire thing moving forward. So you're in a position now where I know we were talking about this with Chadwick Boseman about, hey, look, the actor died, but I mean, you have to move on with the character. Because of the way Disney had went about this whole thing, it's going to be very difficult for them to just suddenly shift gears and hire another actor to be Kang the Conqueror after everything that they're done, because even if they do recast it, people are not going to forget what happened over the last few years. And I don't know if you've seen the box office returns for these MCU films lately, but they can't really afford any more black eyes than they already have at the moment. So
I'll feel like as a writer, I think honestly they could do it without an issue. All you need would be like a Loki-like reincarnation, and then like because it would be she would just take over and like snap her fingers, and then you could have all those little Kang people just turn into her face instead. It would be almost like a master disguise sort of trick, and you can make it work. I mean, if you're a good writer, you can make it work. So.
Yeah, but they don't have any of those, so that's not really a plan.
I'm just saying, you can make it work. It probably won't. Don't get your hopes up.
Right.
That's what the black pill stream is for, right, Jacob?
Yep. And hopefully Spencer actually shows up on that show. So, there you go. We're gonna hop on here to our next topic because this one raised a bit of eyebrows. I'm not sure if you guys are Ghostbusters fans, but Ghostbusters Afterlife was a movie that came out, I think it was 2 years ago. And it was sort of the, hey, we're really sorry about that whole Ghostbusters 2016 movie, so here's one that's going to be played more to the fans. And some people actually liked it. I thought it was a solid film. I thought the fan service towards the end was a little bit, insulting, but that's my personal opinion. But people liked it, and it seems like they were moving in a better direction. But you have the big red flags here because they announced who's going to be in the next sequel, which I believe is supposed to come out in December, at the very end of the year. I don't see any way if this movie, if they're just starting to film this film, that they're going to make that date. That's probably going to be pushed back to 2024 at this rate. But Ghostbusters Afterlife has announced that Patton Oswalt and what's his dude's name, Kumail Nanjiani or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Nanjiani.
Nanjiani, I'll never get his name right. I don't care.
Guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Eternal's Indian.
Yeah, the guy from
Eternal.
Stuber. If you remember Stuber, he's the one that they cast in this role. So, yeah, both of them have been cast in the Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel with 4 new cast members, including those 2 actors. May polarize some of the audience. Yeah, that's to say the least, because I'm not sure if you guys know this, but people really don't like either one of those 2 guys. Like Patton Oswalt, I think has angered quite a lot of people over the last few years. And, let's just say that Kumail is a very, very whiny person on interviews and social media, but they're adding those 2. James Acaster, Emily Lynn from Gossip Girls is also going to be a part of this new sequel. They're joining the cast, and they haven't announced the official name of it, but like I said, they announced that they were shooting for December 2023. There's no way they're making that date. But what's the guy here? Jason Reitman and co-writer Gil Keenan said that they'll be swapping their perspective duties, and the details of the film of the actual plot of this movie have not come out yet. But as of this writing, right now it's going to be a series that's going to return back to Manhattan, back to the iconic Ghostbusters firehouse. So if you guys didn't watch Afterlife, they kind of shifted the setting of the film from New York City to Oklahoma, tried to go in a different direction. What's the girl's name? I can't remember the girl. Oh, here it goes. McKenna Grace. They seem to be that they're gonna move the franchise kind of in her direction, where she's gonna be the lead moving forward. Good luck with that one. However, yeah, the announcement that they were going to cast those 2 chuckleheads in this film has made a lot of people who probably were going to be excited to watch this movie pull back and say, I don't know if I want to see this film if they're going to be in it, because, well, we kind of know their views at this point. We kind of know their politics at this point. And if those 2 are the guys you're casting in this film, then maybe the movie is going to exhale some of those same politics that people do not want to see. Now, I know there's still people out there that are saying, hey, well, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. I am of the mind right now that these people don't exactly deserve the benefit of the doubt. And if these are the people who you're front rolling your entire operation beyond, then maybe that's a red flag for me that, hey, maybe this is a film that we should skip. Because you keep in mind, the only reason why people really truly liked that last one that came out a few years ago was because 2016 was so bad that people were desperate to see anything that was favorable towards the Ghostbusters universe. And to the fans of the Ghostbusters, that film was okay, but I don't know what they're going to do with the next few films moving forward. I'll start with Orange here, because I know Orange really wanted to talk about this whole thing. What do you think about Patton and the Stuber guy joining the cast of Ghostbusters Afterlife? And clearly he's not there, so we're
Yep, sorry, I'm back. I was listening. I've actually made my opinion on it very well heard. It's like, just because these 2 have been reportedly to be cast in the movie, do we know the roles? Do we know what capacity they're going to be in? These are the questions that an objective stance needs to ask. I personally loved the 3rd installment of the movie. Now, yes, do I think that Patton Oswalt and Kumail, with whatever this dude's name is, are kind of idiots? Absolutely. I mean, Patton Oswalt is a complete psychopath, and the other guy is, well, he's actually starting to wake up and call out Hollywood's stupidity and their identity politics practices. He's actually starting to rail against
To be
them.
fair, he called him out because he wants to get a role as a villain, but he can't because he's brown. So that's the only reason why he's really calling him out.
Yes.
But the thing is, it's all to benefit himself. It's not because he sees any wrongdoing. The only wrongdoing is that he can't get the roles that he desires.
And well, that's still a way of railing against the system because he's calling it out. That is still a way of calling it out. Now, yes,
Maybe
it is
he'll be
for
the
selfish
villain in this
purpose.
one.
But do I think that, but I would like to actually know what capacity they're going to be in before I cast judgment on whether or not I'm going to see the movie. I've always been a fan of the Ghostbusters films. I thought the third one, not the 2016 one, but the Afterlife, was actually done quite well because it was done by Jason Reitman, whose father, Ivan, also had a little bit of input on the film. Not to mention, they did it right with Egon because he didn't talk. That would have, or if he had, it would have cheapened the film further. But Patton Oswalt and this guy, if their roles are main characters, I do believe it will weaken the film. But another thing that a lot of people need to take into consideration, they are still going to have to abide by the director and the producer's rules and directions. They are still actors. They're still bound by contract. That does not mean that they're going to be, or just because they're cast does not mean they're going to have free reign. If Jason Reitman is the director of this film, guess what? They're going to be bound by his direction, and he's not going to be putting anything, or he's called out identity politics, Jason Reitman. He's actually said we're not going to be put. He actually did that or one line to mock identity politics in Afterlife. It's like pretty woke for 4,000 years ago, and that's basically was meant to mock the IDP because it's true the character was neither man or woman. It was whatever it wanted to be. It was a non-human entity. But anyway, I want to see more, or I want to know more before I make a judgment. And I think that people jumping the gun on this, I honestly think they're, jumping the gun.
Well, and just real quick here, I don't think Reitman is directing. I think, even in the article, they said he's switching roles. Where I think he wrote the screenplay, and the guy who wrote the screenplay for Afterlife is directing. But here's the thing: if Jason Reitman is involved, I don't think it's hopeless. I didn't see Afterlife because it was described to me as like a kids movie, so it was something I wasn't super interested in. I'll probably watch it at some point here before this one comes out, especially if I review it. But I really like Jason Reitman as sort of when he was doing more personal movies like Thank You for Smoking and Up in the Air. And then he kind of hit a rough patch where he just couldn't do what he wanted anymore. And so Ghostbusters Afterlife kind of fell into his lap with the sort of failure of the 2016 version. And so I thought he was a perfect choice for continuing the franchise. I thought it was perfect. The son of Ivan Reitman, who did the original movies. So, but until I see Afterlife, I don't really have much of an opinion. Patton Oswalt and Kumail Nanjiani are two kind of annoying individuals. Though I will say, as much as I do not like Patton Oswalt's political stuff, some of his stand-up, some of his roles in movies are pretty funny. I have to give him that, even though he's kind of an annoying figure socially and politically, and his commentary online is annoying. In fact, I think I'm blocked by him on Twitter. But he can be funny. Kumail Nanjiani, I liked him in Portlandia. That's a sort of like irony type of an irony type of millennial humor. Not that might not work in, you know, a Ghostbusters Afterlife movie. So, you know, it just remains to be seen how it works, how they work them into the movie. But, you know, I don't think any actor's involvement automatically should nix whether a movie's going to be good or not. So we'll just have to see.
What do you think, Rick?
Yeah. You're beautiful.
Yeah. I just saw that right now. Well, you know, I would say that it's. I agree with Rob. It's not a automatic deal breaker if either of these people appear. We have to know what their role is going to be. Having said that, these aren't big names. They're not being hired to draw in audiences. And who knows? Maybe this will give Nanjiani the chance to finally play a villain, because that's, you know, the great goal of his life is to play the evil person. If he doesn't play the villain, then, you know, why be there at all if you're just going to be the hero, or going to be like, I don't know what. So it's too soon to say one way or the other. As someone who is not really big on the Ghostbusters movies, at least the 2016 one and the Afterlife, you know, it really doesn't matter one way. We'll have to see. It's one of those we'll wait and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and we'll see what happens. But I don't expect much in terms of great filmmaking with you know, the guy from, what was it, Eternals, and I don't know what. Yeah, well, I never saw that.
I hate that. I really hate that movie. I'm just done.
I don't even think I don't know what Patton Oswalt has actually done career wise. I mean,
Ratatouille.
Oh, I never saw Ratatouille.
I have to wonder, does this sequel to Afterlife have any reason at all to exist, other than obviously the obvious, which is money? That's
Honestly,
where
I think they
like,
should not do another one. But that's me, because they had a perfect conclusion with Afterlife.
So then that just fundamentally, I just don't understand why they're continuing, other than obviously the money. I don't care about that aspect because I'm just a viewer. I don't give a shit how much money you know, a film makes. I just look at things from an artistic perspective. Does this film have reason to exist? And from what you guys are telling me, no, because the previous film had a at least, you know, acceptable conclusion for Orange Hat. So looking at that perspectively, it's sad that we're even talking about this. There just shouldn't be. There needs to be an end to just forcing sequels down people's throats just because of the property. Like it's honestly, they're not going to stop until clearly they've milked this for what it's worth. And given it seems as though, looking at it, you know, from the outside in, it seems as though they managed to get over with the crowd in Afterlife by appealing to the fan base, which is cool. But now it seems as though I predict that they're going to exploit that goodwill that they managed to gain with Afterlife and probably just milk this for everything. That's what it seems like to me.
I would take it one step further, okay, because Patton Oswalt's face reminds me of the bad guy from Ghostbusters, like the actual bad guy, Ronan or whatever. And this is, for me, I'm like looking at this, I'm like, oh, they're going back to New York. So that means that they're going to try to tie in this stuff with Answer the Call stuff. And it'll probably be him and playing Ronan's brother and some kind of revenge plot. And this is just like, this is the worst of the Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams all at once. So I don't know. I don't know though. But I mean, like, that's kind of what I think. Just like, because it's like Cassie says, like, where are you going to go with this? And it's like, you got a lot of goodwill. That's what The Force Awakens had. And, oh, we got to tie it into our previous property because collector sets and swag. And
well, here's another thing that a lot of people are not taking into consideration. There is a character in Ghostbusters that needs a voice but doesn't have perfect speech and is part of the Ghostbusters team. Slimer. They could just freaking have Patton Oswalt as Slimer's voice, providing a semi-comedic feel to his voice, because believe it or not, Slimer is still around. It could be as innocuous as that. Now, do I believe that they should do another Ghostbusters movie? No. Or what they should have done was keep or have Slimer peek his head out when Ecto 1 pulled in, but that was about it. They should not do or I do not think a fourth movie is necessary.
Yeah, because now, like I said, the only indication of where they're going with this is that the Grace girl, the one who played Harold Ramis's granddaughter in the last film, that they're going to base the series around her moving forward. Which, I mean, look, we've seen so many of these. Hey, let's just make a movie franchise based around a female and move forward with that. Like, we've seen so many of those over the last few years. We know exactly how they end.
It was done in a proper way. It didn't push any of the.
Well,
IDP.
that film was done in a proper way, so we'll have. I mean, I don't know. I understand, the give them the benefit of the doubt with this one, but yeah,
there's potential that they could screw it up.
Like, you have to earn the benefit of the doubt, though. I mean, like, and it's just. I don't think that they've earned it. Yeah. This is something that I will watch the Red Letter Media review of.
And just to quote Monkey Jeeves, it said, "Yeah, Slimer isn't the good guy. Yeah, but he sells a lot of merch. So if he sells a lot of merch, we'll give you a baby face turn."
I'm going to correct Monkey Jeeves right now. Slimer was a good guy in the cartoon, which is actually considered canon, which is considered canon to the movies. Slimer was in the second movie as a person who was as a being who was helping the Ghostbusters.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Get to the damn library.
That's what I was thinking too. Slimer in the animated series was more positive than in the first film. But now that it's going to New York, do we have the nightmare scenario that it's going to cross over with the female Ghostbusters?
That's what I've been saying.
They they decanonized 2016's attempt.
Hey, but
they completely decanonized it.
Well, what's to prevent Thor from popping up and being their secretary?
This could be the Ghostbusters universe, okay?
No,
think of all the trends of Hollywood.
You telling me that there's a different variant of Chris Hemsworth somewhere that's going to pop up in this universe as well?
Yeah, I mean, we need more of his dancing. Like we did in Ghostbusters 1916.
That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was horrifying. Yeah, and
did we ever? Just real quick, did anyone here? Did we ever watch Ghostbusters 2? I feel like that was a movie night, but I may have forgotten about it.
No,
we do that one.
So.
Okay,
I don't think so.
Does anyone? How you guys feel about Ghostbusters 2?
Well, Patton did a watch along on her channel for Ghostbusters 1, so.
So growing up, I actually confused the two. Like, actually can't tell the difference between the first. Now I can't. I mean, I clearly know what the differences are. But I was like, oh yeah, Marshmallow Man and Sigourney Weaver getting possessed. They're the same. It's fine.
I don't remember if I ever saw. I don't even remember Ghostbusters.
Rob is definitely high.
I saw Ghostbusters when they reopened theaters because that was one of the films that they released or re-released when there were no movies available, and I just thought, boy, this is longer than I remember it. But no, I don't remember Ghostbusters 2 at all.
The painting.
Yeah, and then I do remember the 2016 Ghostbusters, and my friend Fidel, we saw it together.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised you watch any of them, honestly, because you're like the type of guy with any like big like film franchise, you just won't watch a single one until like the new one comes out.
No.
He skipped all of those Halloween movies just to get to the last.
And John Wick too. He also skipped all the John Wick movies as well.
Well, no, they didn't have an appeal to me. But no, I did see Ghostbusters. But I don't remember I saw 2. I might have seen it when I was a child, but I don't remember it. My friend Fidel, he made a very good comment. Like, he said it wouldn't be funny if it had been all men, because the script was just not funny. And as much as I want to paint it as
has no taste in movies,
I denounce that sexist opinion of that.
The 2016 version was not funny, and it wouldn't have been funny with men. It was just terrible. But we'll see.
Women have different ways of expressing humor. Like, there's actually a lot of female humor, like observational sort of gag type humor in Ghostbusters or Answer the Call stuff. But like nobody would normally find it funny because like women aren't that funny in terms of like men will get you the big laughs because it's like a bit like stepping on a banana peel. You know, it's like we were never supposed to be this outrageously stupid. You know.
Oh, you sexist, you.
Women aren't
Well, you
funny.
know.
Just there you go. Just stop there.
No, no, that's wrong. Women are hilarious.
Yeah,
Hilariously
right, sure.
stupid.
No, you're
Yes.
Yep, yes.
Well, I mean, like I said, they can be, but they're funny in different ways, and that's usually where, like, especially with situational humor and like physical humor, you see a very big difference. Like, it's the same thing with being agreeable and disagreeable. Men tend to be more disagreeable, and women tend to be more agreeable. It's the same thing with humor.
Well, to be fair, kind of Rob just pushes the male disagreeable section. Like he tilts it very heavily in the male section.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you guys fight, right? So
No, I don't think I've ever fought. I don't think we've ever fought.
you guys get Rick robbed on here.
Yeah, so. I just assume that he's wrong whenever I disagree with him.
Oh boy. So yeah, that's the future of Ghostbusters moving forward. I guess we'll have to wait and see. One, if it even comes out this year.
I hope that Kumail Nanjiani gets his evil villain role. I think he'd be a good evil villain. So
not unless he's cast like as Jinnah in another Gandhi biopic.
That dude's a jabroni. Anyway, so let's move on to our next topic here. I ran across this story earlier this week, and I thought it was a good lead up to a story that we're going to talk about here. The showrunner for a little Disney Channel show you guys may have heard of called Wizards of Waverly Place recently came out and said that he regretted the fact that he didn't explore a lesbian relationship between teenage girls and a very, very young Selena Gomez when he was writing the show about, 15 years ago? So this is the comment that trended on social media a couple days ago. Here, Selena Gomez's Wizards of Waverly Place character would have been bisexual, head writer says. We weren't able to make it explicit. Well, I said we got as close as we could. This is what he's saying. Now, this is two things before I get into the story here. One, this is a 60-year-old man. Two, it's like I always have to question myself. It's like, do they really think this, or do they see that the whole LGBTQ trend is popular now, so they're trying to retroactively pretend like, oh yeah, no, we totally wanted to do something gay with this show from 15 years ago, but we just didn't do it at the time. It's like I have to feel like, are you guys just like bullshitting, or are they actually like just prefer sickos? But Peter Murrieta served as an executive producer and head writer for the Disney Channel show for its first 3 seasons, and confirmed in the latest episode of the Wizards of Waverly podcast that it was the creative team's intention to make Selena Gomez's character openly bisexual. Gomez's character of Alex had several male interests throughout the show's run, including a bunch of people who I guess you would have to know if you actually watched the show. But Murrieta wishes that she had a female love interest with the introduction of Stevie Nichols in season 3. He says, easy, Murrieta said when asked about the storyline that he wished he could have explored. He said, I wish we could have played more with that, I guess being, the relationship between the two teenage girls. That was quite obvious that a lot of us, that there was a relationship between Stevie and Alex, but we weren't able to go on that at the time. It was pretty clear to all of us what that relationship was. It would have been fun. Alex and Stevie were 2 girls who met in detention, but Stevie was only included in 4 episodes of the series before she was written off. It says that if we had a few years down the line, we could have played with that. The podcast co-host Jennifer Stone said, who played Alex's best friend Harper in the show. He said Disney did it. They had LGBTQ characters, referring to other Disney Channel shows with openly gay characters that have come out since that show has been off the air. He said at the time it wasn't a thing. He said having LGBTQ characters on Disney, but we got as close as we could. I mean, it was pretty close. It was pretty much right there. So this was a show that Selena Gomez was on for 106 episodes and 5 seasons. It was a popular show at the time, especially after like the late 2000s, because this is when you had her show, Demi Lovato's show, and Miley Cyrus' show. That they were the 3 queens of Disney Channel at that time. So there was a lot going into that. one, Selena Gomez, her personal life hasn't exactly been very well since that show has gone off the air. She's been quite of a mess of alcohol issues, health issues. She's been obsessed with Justin Bieber ever since that show ended. So things didn't exactly end very well for her. But it's like here you have the implication, which like I'm hoping that he's just trying to pander to this crowd, because if or not, you're talking about a guy like I said, 60 years old, and he's talking about we really should have explored a lesbian relationship between these two 15, 14-year-old girls when I was the head writer of the show on the Disney Channel, with all the context of what's going on with the teen stars at Disney, what happened with a lot of things behind the scenes with Disney when it comes to a lot of their teenage girls, and a lot of sick dark stuff that I'm trying not to just go off on a tangent on right now here. But what are your thoughts on I'll start with you, Johnson. What are your thoughts here on the head writer essentially regretting not exploring a lesbian relationship between these girls here?
Well, there are a couple of things I would like to say. So I think one of the biggest problems with Selena Gomez is that like her best friend Christina Grimmie was like murdered and like shot like right in front of her or something, right? And I know like that's probably not going to help anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, on top of everything else,
yeah,
it's pretty rough.
So when I see Selena Gomez trending in the news, I'm just like, get therapy, please. It's usually it's like, I hope you got therapy. And so I wanted to say that I don't think that helped. I don't think all of her mental health struggles and stuff came from the inner workings of the House of Mouse. I do think in this case, I think it's just virtue signaling for a job. And then the second thing, I think it's like almost like it's almost like a fetish. And I mean, it is a fetish in many ways. It's like, oh, we just want this fantasy where we're these woke people before we had to be woke. And it's disgusting because like women aren't allowed to have friendships today with stuff like this. Like you can't have men that have friendships without this coming up. You can't have women that have this come up. You can't have men and women being friends without this sort of stuff coming up. It's like you can just have friends, and it's so hard to explain it to people sometimes. No, my characters in this book are just friends. They're not like that. Thank you.
Imagine that. It's so difficult to explain something so simple in modern day.
Well, it's just everywhere and stuff. And I mean, like, this is part of the reason I think it's a trademark of bad writing and bad people, or not bad people, but like bad people with bad relationship histories being unable to separate it from that. There's actually a famous quote by C.S. Lewis that says, like, when people talk about like eroticism in friendships, it proves that they've never had like a real friend. And I see this a lot of the like Lord of the Rings commentary. So like, brothers in arms and battling, you might die the next day. It's not the same thing as going down to Bone Town. So
What's curious is that more often than not, friendships between two women is seen in a less sexual manner than a friendship between two men. With two men, if they're very close friends, it's almost always suggested that they're attracted to each other, or that they're closeted or potentially gay. With two women are seen as being more affectionate publicly than they would be if instead of men. Excuse me. And what I'm reminded of, and it's really strange, I'm reminded of Lightyear. Remember when the movie Lightyear came out, they were saying that this was the movie that inspired Andy to buy the toy, and they had an openly lesbian relationship, and was they were going, the friend, Lightyear's friend, got knocked up. We don't know by whom, because unless this planet allowed women to impregnate each other, and they said
Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
But this apparently was supposed to be the movie that came out and inspired Andy. If that had happened in real life, this movie would have come out like 2 years or a year before the Defense of Marriage Act had been passed. and there was no concept of same-sex marriage. So this is retroactively putting in something that probably was not planned. I don't think that the writers back then, when they were writing Wizards of Waverly Place, were really planning to make a character that was a guest star and that appeared in 4 episodes be the great love of Selena Gomez's character's life, Alex.
Yeah.
So this is his fantasy. This is his fantasy that he's now projecting, retroactively projecting, and insinuating something that was not there, not planned. So I don't know why he wants to do that. And I don't think it would have been seen on the Disney Channel back then. Now we probably would have like a full on orgy. They'd go all bros on us. So
on Disney Channel.
On the Disney Channel, right between like Donald Duck Presents and maybe a screening of Freaky Friday, the original. So
there you go, Disney Plus X. They can have a porn division.
The House of Mouse After Dark. All I can tell you is that this is. I don't think this is real. I think this is a man who's just imagining this and wants to create this kind of fantasy world where he could get to see 2 teenage girls in a passionate embrace. So I think that's more about him.
We keep seeing this happen. We see it with like James Gunn saying that Velma was gay in the Scooby-Doo movie, but they made me change it. I mean, there's other examples. I can't think of them right now, but I know
Matrix with Wachowski saying, "Oh yeah, the Matrix is always a trans allegory."
Yeah, and there's just this blatant retconning where it's like you're changing things all this time after the fact just to sort of score social points to try to gain a new audience. Maybe I mean it's the most cynical type of business decision, and I don't even think it works. I don't even think that there's data you can point to where it says, oh, hey, this actually, you know what, do this and you'll actually gain a bigger audience. Like I refuse to believe that's real, because people, as stupid as I think most people are, I don't think that they literally like, oh, hey, I'm going to like this new thing because they care about me as a gay person. You know what I mean? It's such a reductive way of looking at people and groups and identifying them by the most shallow, criteria.
But I've said this before that in terms of population to characters, there's an overrepresentation of gay characters on television and in film in terms of actual population. So again, if you're going to have this character retroactively make her bisexual or a lesbian, then who are you really appealing to? There are fewer gay people, and again, gay is my catch-all term. There are fewer gay people in America, in the American population, than there are on television. And well, that's not true, because each generation, millennials and Zoomers, the gay population is increasing, which is a fascinating aspect of society, where we're seeing more and more, not keeping the same level or even fewer gay people. There's actually more gay people now than there were like in 1980 or 1990 or even 2000. So maybe it is a reflective.
Well, for me personally, I'm sorry, but at this point, I don't give a fuck about what you claim that you wanted to do. I'm tired of these creepy old motherfuckers like using the LGBT thing to like think it's okay to actually say, yeah, I wanted to have a gay female relationship between these 2 teenagers in my show. I'm going to assume the worst. You as a man need to conduct yourself knowing that you could be, as a man, you're going to have to deal with the reality that you need to be cautious of how you conduct yourself around women, especially women that are underage. That just comes with being a man. Something that I personally don't have to be concerned with, something that obviously C.S. Johnson doesn't have to be concerned with. That is what you have to be self-aware of as a man. That is one of many things that separates man from woman. This to me just comes off extremely fucking creepy. And I hope that people tell him, yeah, that comes off as extremely creepy. I don't give a shit about you trying to virtue signal. It does to me at this point, you being a grown man wanting to take this and thinking it's okay, like take this to the next step in terms of LGBT, pretending in your little world that this is acceptable. No, it's not. You're a man, conduct yourself as a man. And if not, well, people maybe need to look into your history, because I'm sorry, looking at videos this past week of Amanda Bynes in a fucking whirlpool with that creep from Nickelodeon, whatever the hell his face is.
Snyder.
Yes. Looking at that makes me want to vomit. And I've had to watch it on social media. And you know what? It's one of those things where I'm glad that it's out there so we could see, because this is not something that should be even remotely acceptable. And not for nothing, I think Amanda Bynes' parents should be held accountable for what had happened to Amanda Bynes as a child. Because as a parent, you're supposed to do everything in your power to protect your children from creepers, predators, and all that. And clearly they did not, because there is nothing that would be even remotely like anything like that would happen to me as a child. My parents would never, ever, ever stand for even close to it. Like my dad would prevent me from, going to sleepovers, even with family, going to every extent to make sure that I was safe, because I was young, I was naive, I didn't know how the world works. Now I do know how the world works. And in some ways, I used to resent my parents for how strict that they were. But as an adult, I'm like, yeah, I completely understand why my parents were so strict. There are some creepy motherfuckers out there, and I'm glad that I had parents that genuinely cared and even were willing to do the things that made me at points dislike them for. Because the reality is there are some disgusting, heinous people, and this person needs to conduct himself better in order to make me believe that he isn't one of those people.
Yeah, and a quick thing here, it's like, well, when it comes to not even just the Disney Channel shows, the Nickelodeon shows, like this has been what I call an open secret for quite some time. Like these producers, these writers, these directors who get on these shows with these children at the time get very close to them, and a lot of them, they've had a lot of say questionable to criminal people on these shows. I mean, we talked about Disney Channel. Demi Lovato herself has admitted that she was raped as a teenager while on the show that she was on, Sunny with a Chance. That was on the same time that this show was on. We know about Dan Schneider and his history with teenage girls that he's been working with for the course of the last 20 to 25 years. So the fact that he's putting this out here because, if I say this, I'll sound like I'm an ally to the LGBTQ. And it's like, no, you sound like a predator who probably shouldn't be around anyone who's underage. That's what you sound like when you say shit like this. So like, oh yeah, no, I really wanted to explore this lesbian relationship between these two 14-year-olds. That's my biggest regret, is I didn't get to go all in on that. This is a show that he was writing when he was in his 40s, by the way, so to keep that in mind as well. And then I think to myself, it's like, have we reached the point where like two girls just can't be friends anymore? They have to be in some kind of like lesbian relationship. We do this with like literally everybody. I think we brought this up with like Wednesday a couple of months back, where people were saying, oh yeah, no, she should totally be in a lesbian relationship with this other girl because they look like they can be hooked up. It's like, okay, so these people just can't be friends anymore, right? You can't just be friends with another girl. Oh no, we have to hook these two up. Like this is the mindset of these really creepy, disturbed people that we're dealing with right now. And it's sad. And like I said, I wouldn't even give him the benefit of the doubt, knowing the history of Nickelodeon, knowing the history of Disney Channel with these shows specifically. I wouldn't even go as far as giving him the benefit of the doubt that he isn't a complete creeper, or maybe has some skeletons or bodies in his closet at this point as well too. So,
but what I don't get is that this character was just there for 4 episodes. It was a guest star. How do you read a sexual relationship of a minor character who was written out pretty quickly? I mean, this is a kind of bizarre fantasy that he has, that they were going to build this character up to be a major figure in Alex Russo's life, where she was going to be like the first woman that she would sleep with or make out with or what have you. This was a minor character. It was a guest star. I don't understand where he says, oh, it's pretty clear. Granted, I'd have to see the episodes where obviously they're giving each other knowing looks. But I guess for the people who do remember the episodes that they were both in, do they see this? Do they see that there was this great undercurrent of sexual tension between them, or is he kind of just
Well,
delusional?
let's be honest. Was anyone looking for sexual attention between two 15-year-olds watching a Disney Channel show at the time? Like, who was even
Listen,
looking for that?
there's a lot of mentally ill people on film Twitter,
Mm.
and just Twitter in general, who project all kinds of like mentally ill nonsense onto like movies and TV shows. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially with like how much people. I mean, seriously, there are people on Twitter that basically make their sexuality their entire personality. Like
Yep.
that's all that is. So I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, it's just like, why are you projecting this onto a show that, I mean, when was the last time it aired? Like 10 years ago?
I know it started somewhere like 2007, 2008, so it was somewhere in like
Yeah.
the early 2020s when that show went off the air. So
Yeah.
yeah, about 10 years ago.
I'm
My
honestly,
big theory with this is that like adults today aren't growing up, so they think that children are perfectly capable of making the same decisions they are.
No.
oh, absolutely. I mean, there was that article that talked about how more and more people are literally sleeping with their teddy bears and their little comfort creatures at night, and that's childish behavior to be, needing like a little toy to go to bed with when you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s to get you through the night. I mean, there. I guess again, at this point, I'm honestly surprised we don't retroactively go back and say that Lucy and Ethel were lovers. I mean, that's about that's where we're heading.
Very, very quickly. So I want to jump over to this next story here because this is where we can really start unpacking some of this stuff. Over the weekend, UFC fighter Holly Holm, who I believe just signed a new contract with the UFC. She's going to be, I think, in for at least under 5 fights with the company. But she fought this weekend, beat her opponent, so I guess she's nearing a top for like another title shot. So if you don't know who Holly Holmes is, she's the woman who knocked out Ronda Rousey and effectively ended her career. So just a little info there for you guys. But after the fight, she got interviewed by Bisping, Michael Bisping, UFC Hall of Famer, former middleweight champion, and she went on a quick little announcement saying that we need to stop sexualizing children. So I'm gonna play you exactly what she said here, and then I'm gonna get into the reaction based on this. So this is really just the short clip. All right, here it's not that long.
Something that's been on my part, and I feel like I have the platform to say it. I need to say it. I just feel it's really sad, all the sexualization of our children right now, and we need to protect them, whatever that may be. Let's protect the children, please. Do anything we can to help.
So right there, that the whole little 16-second clip, that's literally all that she said, right? So a normal person saw that clip and it's like, yeah, okay, I agree with that. Well, unfortunately, we have a bunch of not so normal people in our society now because, and this is what I want you to keep an eye on too. A lot of these people who responded to her negatively are MMA journalists. So it was the journalists who got angry at her. And yes, people actually got angry at her for that 16-second clip that I just showed you. So here's one guy right here. This is Ryan McKinnell, says that everyone wants to stop trafficking. This is nonsensical and absurd. I also want kids to not worry about being murdered at school. I care about them having free lunch so they don't go hungry. Pay for better teachers. This country doesn't care about its children. That's obvious. Keep in mind, this is the tangent that he decided to go on just by hearing her say protect children, right? But it didn't stop there. Here's another MMA journalist with a tweet right here where she's playing Amanda Nunes kicking Holly Holmes in the face because I guess that's the proper reaction to someone who says that they want to stop the sexual abuse of children. And then you had a lot of journalists in the MMA community who also attacked her faith because her nickname, Holly Holm, you guess you didn't know this, is the preacher's daughter. Her father's known to be a pastor. So everyone started attacking her faith, saying that, well, actually, there's more sex scandals in the Catholic Church than there is at these drag queen shows. So they had the long list. By the way, they used the screenshot from Spotlight, by the way, which I find very, very interesting there. I'll keep that here. So then here's the other thing. over the course of these last few days, you've had increasingly more and more states, just like Tennessee, which we'll talk about here in a second, that have said that, look, we're not going to allow you guys to bring drag queens to twerk in front of children anymore. Like, that shit's going to stop. Like, we're not going to allow that. States have started to pass laws against it. And all these people on the left are absolutely enraged that drag queens are no longer having access to children. So they've tried to flip this whole thing into saying that, well, why are you guys worried about the drag queen? Why don't you worry about the school shooters? Because all these kids are dying at school, right? Well, then, of course, yesterday, as most of you guys know, a transgender school shooter went to a Christian school and decided to shoot and kill 6 people. 3 of them were children. 3 of them were either parents or teachers that were there as well. So that immediate narrative that they tried to build, be like, well, actually, the real problem is school shooters. This is trans people. That aged so terribly in such a short period of time. But it just goes to show you just how evil and demented these people are, that she went out there and says that we need to protect children, and people actually attacked her. But for saying that, yeah, we need to protect kids. Didn't say that, yeah, stop taking your kids to these drag queen shows where all these weirdos are all up in their face and stuff like that. She just said protect children. And then we've gotten to the part with the society where these people responded with pure venom. So I wanted to just follow this up here with what she said after the fact. They did ask her about this again, because can you clarify what you meant by protect children? Because they were afraid that this was a dog whistle. So here's what she said here.
Used your post-fight speech to use a platform, I believe, to sort of speak out against the sexualization of children. I'm curious if you wanted to use your platform again now to sort of go into further detail.
You know, there's a lot of things. I don't ever want to be not like a real political person. I don't like to put that stuff on any of my social media, or because I think there's just, but there's also just right and wrong, and I feel like everybody should be on the same side on that. I don't feel like that has anything to do with left side, right side, or anything like that. I feel like everybody should be wanting to protect our children. And there's stuff that is, there's a lot of child trafficking, and I mean that's like the extreme part, but there's a lot of levels to it. You just see it almost being more accepted, and I think that's really sad. So I just feel like we should all do what we can. I know it's like a lot of people don't even know what to do, but if I can at least have a voice on it, then that's something I can speak out on it. And it's just to get everybody together to protect children. It's childhood really affects people in their long-term life too. I mean, I have friends that are adults, and their biggest thing that kind of is this shadow, kind of that dark space in them is being sexualized when they were young, and I just feel like it's almost getting accepted.
So that's her comments after the fight. That was on Saturday. Now, I have something that I want to bring up that goes even a step further here, but I want your guys' thoughts on this whole story. What do you think about Holly Holmes, her comments, and then just the visceral reaction to her comments? I'll actually start with Orange here since you were out for a bit. So what do you think about this whole thing?
I think that she has a point. She actually presented her statement in a non-political way. Mm-hmm. And I'm very good at reading people with what they say. What she said is not readable. I can't tell whether she falls on one side or the other. But if these idiots who are MMA and UFC journalists are going after her, what does that say about them? It is very clear that they are saying, oh my God, she's just doing dog whistles for right-wing narratives and yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, she didn't. Although it seems that you have a problem with children or with people who want to end the sexualization of children. And I said this in a video a few years ago, before Cuties was released on Netflix. If that movie got released, they would start sexualizing children a lot more. Well, guess what's been going on, folks? I hate to say I told you so, but fucking I told you so. Kids are being sexualized not just in movies, but they're also being sexualized in real life with all this drag shit. It may not have been a political statement, but believe it or not, it is part of a political argument.
Personally, there's nothing that she said that was wrong. Clearly, she cares, and it's sad that an MMA fighter who just won a big match for herself feels the need that the most important thing to have to discuss, because it's not being discussed enough or taken seriously enough to her, is the fact that children in society, in America, are being sexualized, and sex is being introduced to them at an inappropriate age that is completely wrong. And the fact that these clowns, they can't simply say, okay, valid point, but I also want to, also bring up these issues as well, but instead attack her by posing different issues. It is telling to me where they stand and how they feel about this situation. I have to come to the conclusion that they actually disagree with her. And if you do, I think you're a fucking weirdo, because how can you attack someone for simply saying, yeah, can we stop sexualizing children? And that's just weird. It's completely fine to say, okay, cool, and also this, but they didn't do that. They completely make it known that, yeah, we do not like you because of the statement that you made, and we're going to attack you. Even so much as to post pictures of her getting kicked in the face. So, yeah, I think that the people that disagree with her are inherently bad. I'm sorry. I would like to avoid these people. I would avoid these people. I do not want to be friends with these people. If you can't simply agree with that, then I think that you're a bad person. Too bad.
Yeah, I'm a live and let live kind of guy, libertarian, as Cassie always says, you live the life you want. I have been feeling like this for the last year. I've been feeling like, okay, is someone going to step in and be like, hey, why are kids at any kind of a sexual dance strip kind of drag performance of any kind? Like, why are they there? Why is that even going on? So everything that she said here was from a genuine place. I mean, you could see that she was even upset by even talking about it, because it's something that it obviously has affected her in her life. That was my takeaway. There's no kind of political talking points. You know what I mean? Something you would hear again and again on Sunday morning talk shows or whatever. Regardless of what political, it doesn't sound like political talking points from any political point of view, because it's her own personal perspective on the issue, on the topic. So I don't think enough people have spoken up. I have felt very I feel weird, because it's like I want to say it just feels creepy and wrong, but I don't have kids. I have no dog in the fight, but it's just like, just as being a decent person, I feel like the decent thing to do is to be like, okay, this is weird and fucked up, and why is it happening? Just as a starter,
What I find interesting is that this is the second story, at least in as many weeks, where it's the journalists who are having the meltdown. It's not even so much the fans or the public. Last week, it was that hockey player who didn't want to wear the warm-up Pride jersey, and who were the ones that were most upset? It was the hockey journalists who were covering the story and condemning him, and what wanting him to die or to be sent back to Russia or what have you. Here you have another case where someone says something that is pretty non-controversial. Hey, don't sexualize kids. And suddenly it's turned around into being, I don't know, some some kind of bigoted statement or some kind of right wing talking point. It's bizarre. Are these the same people who think that 13-year-old should be performing in a drag show for adults and being and just dancing, doing splits? It's a very curious hill to die on. That you would want you'd want 12-year-olds or 11-year-olds to be performing for 50-year-olds on Good Morning America and think that that's somehow normal, rational, or good. Maybe you shouldn't have 11-year-old drag queens. Maybe you shouldn't have them dancing for adults and throwing dollar bills at them as if they were strippers, because these are still children. So the whole thing that the journalists themselves are constantly having meltdowns over something that should have everyone in agreement, it's a curious mindset that all these journalists are taking. Are they now all determined to be activists and all determined to correct the thinking of other people? I don't understand their thinking. That's just my take on this. But I don't have any kids either, so but I'm perplexed as to why they think, oh yes, have 13-year-old kids dance in front of adults. That somehow, like, that's not horrible. But you saying, hey, maybe we should stop human trafficking and sexualizing our kids. Oh, that's beyond the pale. I'm perplexed at their logic.
What
Yeah.
logic, really? So, I will say this, like, I really feel like a lot of these people just don't have kids, or their kids are grown up and in that state where they've forgotten how small and innocent they are, you know? And I think a lot of people refused to accept that like porn is bad and that like gratuitous nudity and violence is bad for you as a person because it wears down on your soul. And I mean, like, even out of a religious context, it's been shown to increase violence and to have long term negative effects on your health and your relationships and your neurodevelopment. And a lot of, with the internet explosion that happened, in the 90s and the early aughts and stuff, and what we have today, it's very, very different. Like, to get porn before, you had to go to like a back closet in an alleyway, and today you can just open your computer and there it is. So, and it's really hard to it's really hard to keep all that out as a parent. And I mean, like, even some ads are just terrible. Like, especially like if my kids want to play like games, it's like I have to make sure that they use Brave
Yeah.
and instead of Safari, because there's all these ads and they're like half naked women, and like my kids are young enough they don't notice that, but it's still
Yeah.
like I don't need them to notice that until they're, and I don't need them to notice it. So, my kids have, if you like, yeah, my kids are sheltered and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff out there. But if you put them up against any kid that's like in public school, you'll know immediately. And I know because I've had random strangers come up to me and say, "How do your kids do? Like, why are your kids like behaving so good?" And I've had people just randomly come up to me and say, "Your kids are so good," and I'm like, "Of course they are, because they're my kids." But I don't think exposing them, like, it's kind of like, to give like probably a very politically incorrect or controversial sort of comparison. It's kind of like getting a vaccine,
Yeah.
where if you do a little bit at a time and you explain to them what it is, because I had to explain to my daughter, like, so my kids like the British baking show stuff. Okay, sorry, this is like a long tangent, but like, so we were watching one on Netflix, and of course they had to bring like this lesbian into it, and like she didn't even win, and her creation sucked. So I was like, why do you have to go into this? But my daughter turns to me, she's like, "Mommy, what do you mean that she has a wife?" Because she was talking about it, and I was like, well, you know, we go to church, and you know, men and women get married and their husband and wife, but you can, like, the state like borrowed marriage from us, and you can quote unquote get married and sign a contract, a contract, like men and women can do that. You can also do that with your dog and your computer and yourself. And lots of people, when they get away from God, they just do really weird stuff, honey. That's all I said, pretty much. And you know what? That was enough. That was enough. She started talking about the cake creations after that. It's like, but the next time that we talk about it, I can say, "You remember this?" And I can kind of build on it. So,
Well, it's interesting. You talk about how you think some things are inappropriate for children.
yeah.
We're seeing now a world, and kind of to uh, bring up something curious. Remember how in Bros you had the main character go on this long tangent about how his parents took him as a 12-year-old to see a play, and they had naked men, and that's how he discovered he was gay and embraced his life and all that good stuff. So that's the mindset of a lot of people. And that's why I guess a lot of people don't have a problem with children in drag shows and drag queen story hours
Well,
and
it
this, that,
comes
and the
back to
other.
what you
Go
that
ahead.
comes back to what you say about the gay population multiplying. I mean, like a exposure leads can more easily lead to abuse, especially with groomer stuff like hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. You know.
Yeah.
And
But yes, I mean that's the mindset and that's the world of the culture or the culture creators, those who are creating film and television programs, where yes, you see taking your children to go and see drag shows and participate in drag shows, and
yeah,
that's a positive. You're exposing them, and you're exposing them to the joys of your authentic self. But I really question whether an 11-year-old has that authentic self to
well,
want to perform for adults
Well,
dressed as
let
the
me.
opposite gender.
like
Let, let
on
me.
the straight side of this too, like my husband and I, we are very affectionate with each other, and my kids get grossed out by it. So,
As all kids should, right?
Yeah.
right? Well, I mean, they think they don't understand. Like I said, they just don't understand how much
Yeah.
I love their father, and
Yeah.
it is kind of gross for them to be like, "Mommy, why are you kissing Daddy again? You just did it." They're
Yeah.
starting to
Nobody
actually
wants
grow out of
to
this a
get
little
the
bit.
mental
So.
image of their parents making out all
TMI,
the time.
TMI,
Well, look,
TMI.
Well,
I need to say this, and I know this is going to upset some of our people here, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it because this whole thing, especially this week, just kind of like blew a gasket with me. Because, like I said, I was following this story Saturday when it happened, and let's be very, very clear here. There's a lot of people who are getting very angry at the fact that we won't allow our children to have access to drag queens, or we won't have drag queens let access to children. So they've made this their whole crusade that people are pushing back on. Why is it that now all of a sudden everywhere you turn, these drag queens need to have access to kids? Why are we fighting so hard so that these guys can have access to children at schools, at libraries, at elementary? Like, why is this the hill that we're suddenly going to die on? I'm just going to say this right here. This whole LGBTQ movement in and of itself, especially now that it's aimed towards kids, it's flat out demonic. Like, we're not going to go ahead and sugarcoat this anymore. It's flat out demonic. There's a reason why this trans shooter in Nashville decided that they, them, him, whatever pronouns he wanted to use, that they targeted a Christian school and Christian children because they were upset at the fact that Tennessee was a state who recently decided that, hey, we're no longer going to allow this drag queen stuff in our state anymore. So why it's like, okay, well, you're upset because the Christians allowed you to stop you from doing that. So we're going to go stick it to the Christians by shooting their kids. Why is that? Why is it that so many of these people hate Christianity so much, hate Christians so much? It's because their entire ideology at its core is a direct opposition to what's written in the Bible and written to Christianity, which is why you have all these hockey players saying that, hey, look, this is against my religious views. I'm not going to wear the jersey. I'm not going to wear the sticks. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to partake in this. They're at direct war against Christians by and large right now, and this is exactly what you're happening. And I know this is going to sound like a little bit of Bible tripping here, but there was something that I read not too long ago that really hit home with me, and it was in Matthew's Matthew's 18.6, and it says here that whoever causes the little ones, being children, by the way, who believes in me to sin, it will be better for them if a millstone was hung from their neck and they was drowned in the depths of the sea. What they were saying is that was a direct quote from Jesus saying that children are essentially the purest form of humans that we have on this planet here. They're very humble, they're very innocent, and what you have here is that you have this community that is trying to corrupt these children at their core to cause them to join their little community, which is sinful in and of itself. That's essentially what they're doing there, is that they're trying to get these kids in their community, to get them to sin, to get them to be corrupted, and it's evil. It's downright evil, and this is why you're starting to to see on social media so many of these people within the trans community saying that, well, if you don't allow us to do what we want to do, then we're going to start coming after you. So now you have all these people posting pictures of their guns saying that they're going to go out there and start killing transphobes. And it just so happens that yesterday one of them finally did it. So if this is where we're going now, if this is the line that we've drawn, and hey, I didn't draw this line, you guys drew this line, you guys demanded of us that, hey, we need to honor your pronouns, honor your identity. If you don't, you're my enemy. Okay, well, this is the line that you guys are drawing now. I've drawn the line. I'm not going to be on your side. I'm not your ally, and I don't agree what you guys are doing with children whatsoever. So,
yeah. And the thing is, like, fundamentally, they are the dickheads that are trying to fundamentally change society. We are just simply saying, this is the societal standard that we've held many decades, many generations, many, many, many years. And these are the insane people that want to absolutely tear down all the fundamentals of our society and ruin everything. And they'd have nothing at stake because these are a bunch of losers, honestly. These are the bottom feeders of society. Not because of society's doing, because of their own doing or lack thereof. They're bottom feeders, and the only way that they have power is by literally controlling, if it be socially, and they're using it to their advantage. They are very vindictive, evil people. I'm sorry, that it is what it is. I'm tired of this shit. If they would just, live their life and not intrude on children, I mean, I wouldn't really give a shit. I wouldn't. But they are literally doing the worst of the worst case scenarios, and they feel entitled to do it. And I don't stand for it. That's why I'm not an ally. And at this point, I never will be. I'm all for people living their life the way they want to, as long as it does not impede on the life of other people, especially children. Period.
And not even their children, other people's kids. They're upset that they don't have access to other people's children, which makes it even more evil.
If I may.
Go ahead.
I do agree with most of what you guys are saying. 99% in fact. But I do also want to point out that it is not all LGBTQ people. I mean, I have said this numerous times. Every group, every organization, every political party, all of it is honestly, they are judged by their worst representatives, and they are the LGBTQ community. Sadly, is getting lambasted because of the poor choices that were made over the weekend. Or over the last couple of days, in fact, of this Tennessee shooter, as well as the drag queen shows. Believe it or not, there are many people in the LGBTQ community. I have family members who are in that community who outright say that what is going on with these drag communities is absolutely pedophilic. And that is one group that we never want to incorporate or include in the LGBTQ community. Now, when it comes to who people are fucking and whatnot, or their sexual preferences, I don't give a shit. That is a personal choice. And honestly, I think the whole don't ask, don't tell kind of thing should kind of become a thing again. Because it is a personal thing. We don't need to know what your choices are when it comes to your bedroom preferences. We don't need to know that. Now,
here's the problem, just real quick. Here's the problem is that we did that too. But no, the problem is like we've gotten to the point where the genie's out of the bottle now. So it's like we can't put it back to where we are. Like this is where we are now. And look, I get it. People have family members or friends who are in this community. I do too. So I'm not sitting here pretending like I don't as well. But at the end of the day, we have to see what's going on here. We have to see how evil this whole agenda is and what they're trying to accomplish here. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to choose one side or another. So, I mean, I get it. You may have friends, you may have family that you don't want to throw in on the other side of this issue here. But we're getting there quicker rather than any of us anticipated. And we're going to have to draw our line in the sand one way or another. Or else what happens moving forward, we're going to be, I don't want to say guilt by association, but if we don't stand up and say something against it now, then we're pretty much going to be like, where were you standing up for the children before we got to this point?
All I know is that if Frank Castle was a real person, I'd call him.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, I think that, LGBT voices need to be louder in condemning this behavior. It needs to be known, because I know that there's definitely a lot of LGBTQ individuals that, just want to live their life. They don't want to see children being sexualized. They don't want to see children harmed in any way, with them being able to, live openly as they so choose to be. And that's completely like fine. I think that those are some fine people. But I think that a lot of the leaders of the LGBTQ plus community really need to hammer home that this is unacceptable behavior and things need to change, because what this is leading to is like a lot of sane, rational people in society, even LGBTQ plus whatever people themselves, rejecting LGBT entirely. This extreme behavior is causing rejection, and the extreme behavior needs to be stomped out.
Yeah.
So,
because look, the whole thing about, hey, you guys want to live however you want to live, then go do that on your own, as long as you're not impeding anybody. We passed that that exit years ago. Like, we've already been past that. If you want to be gay, be gay. If you want to be trans, be trans. We passed that exit years ago. Now we're at the point of, now they're demanding access to your children, and they're demanding access in the classrooms, in the libraries, on television, movies, TV shows. It's like they're trying to get their hands on your children now. This is where we are. So we're way past the, hey, just let people live the way that they want to live. It's like now you're impeding on other people, and this is where you're starting to get the push back. And honestly, I know people, especially in this community, like to think that they've just been under complete attack. You don't understand how incredibly patient we've been with you up to this point. And if this is the line that you guys are ready to cross, if you thought that you were being targeted before, you're not gonna like what the country is gonna look like when people have finally had enough. And I think the last night's incident broke a lot of people. So.
Well, I mean, that's the narrative that's been built, that this Tennessee shooter, that this person was responding to all the negativity that this person was receiving from the outside and from this Christian school that this person attended. So they had to strike back somehow. And I guess the way to strike back is to shoot and kill 9-year-old children who are thoroughly incapable of defending themselves in any way, shape, or form. I don't understand the logic, and it's going to be interesting. I want to see what the trans and the gay communities say. So far, I'm hearing that this violence was a response to all the anti-trans legislations and anti-drag show actions. It seems a very strange hill to die on if that's their argument, that somehow the killing of 9-year-olds is justified in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids were not doing anything to them. They probably were not even aware of what they were saying. So I'm perplexed as to why they're taking this position. And then also, like I mentioned to you about Colorado, what happened once this person announced that this person was a they them? They forgot that story altogether.
And then the other thing too, it's like I know, like, sometimes I just have to like get away from social media, especially when these things happen, because look, there's no point of arguing or debating anyone after one of these shootings happen, because this is when you get the truly evil people out there that lets their opinions be blown in the ether. So when this whole shooting happened, of course, before they found out the shooter was trans, they were all online. It's like, oh yeah, but you guys were worried about the trans people. You guys were worried about the drag queen shows. I guess thoughts and prayers didn't work this time around. And then when we found out that the person was trans, they tried to flip that around and saying, well, actually, the trans shooter was the real victim here. And I was like, I try to suppress my anger.
Yeah.
I know.
I saw that from freaking CNN, and I'm like, turn that fucking shit off before I put a fist through the damn TV.
Oh yeah. How hard is it? I will be the first person to admit that the sin of wrath is something that I personally need to work on, and I personally need to fix in my life. And I'm not going to pretend like that I don't falter this sometimes. But when I see stuff like that and I hear stuff like that, like I just want to like go just scorch earth on people sometimes. I just got to dial it back and pull it back. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Like, how hard is it to be equal? How hard is it to literally, no matter, like, listen, and I know that this is, there's something different about this school shooting, but it's like, anytime this shit happened, okay, and I've been there to see it every time, it's like attribute the guilt equally. Okay, is it any culture's fault? No, it's the individual who takes the gun into a school and decides to shoot children. Okay, anytime that happens, that person is fucked up. Okay, in this case, they're mentally ill, and it's like that's the issue. The individual who does something terribly heinous, who does something beyond belief. No sane person would do that. So it's like, can't you be honest? Can't you just be honest and say, hey, what that person did was fucked up? That's all anybody expects of you, and they can't even do that. That's how pathetic that kind of news coverage is.
Oh, yeah. Here's a perfect example of this. This is from NBC. They just posted this 3 hours ago, by the way. NBC News. Fear pervades that Tennessee trans community amidst the focus on the Nashville shooter's gender identity. We were already fearing for our lives. Now it's even worse. Yeah, because a trans person went to a Christian school and shot up 3 kids, and somehow you guys are the victims in this story.
And to be like somewhat like of a devil's advocate there, no pun intended, is like I understand that this causes fear in general, and fear divides people. Yeah, I can't see a win in any way that you look at it. I mean, this is just a lot, and with the trans issue in general, it's a very emotional one, and there's a lot of hormone issues and stuff because I mean, like I've been through 2 pregnancies. I know how your hormones can mess with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, even Jesus didn't want to be a woman, deal with PMS. Okay, so like it's just one of those things where it's gonna be emotional, and it's very hard to be honest when you're emotional. And I mean, like that's the big thing about a lot of these debates that I see, and is that you know, like when you argue about ideas, you're supposed to argue about ideas. Like when I talk about here, I'm not blaming like the entire LGBTQ community, even if I disagree with aspects of their lifestyle. I'm here to say that this particular instance was just not good. This is evil, this is satanic, this needs to go to hell, and this needs to stop. And yes, more people should be saying this needs to stop. But like you can't make it personal when we talk about stuff that's personal, and because it's so hard to tear that away from the personal. So you know, and I don't think like my kids have enjoyed the original Star Wars trilogy, but even today, when they watch it, I have to say when Obi-Wan Kenobi says trust your feelings, I'm like, hey, did you know that your feelings can be wrong sometimes? That's why, you know, and it's you know, against the culture at the time where it was, you know, trying to build up like the education, and they were, you know, coming off of the literary traditions of Europe with the you know, the classicism and the everything and stuff. It made sense to say, oh yes, go ahead and just, you know, kind of connect with your intuition here, you know. That's why I think, you know, NCIS is such a popular show after all these years.
Yeah.
And it's basically one man relying on his gut and bad indigestion.
I appreciate you trying to talk us off the ledge, and Rob knows because Rob is a big fan of ROTC, and you know Mersh always makes a joke every now and then, and every way we stray further away from God, it's like I just feel like with these stories, it's like it started off as a joke and is not becoming a joke anymore, which makes it even more depressing. So
well, I mean, like our culture reinforces this, like this the over dependence on feelings and stuff, though, and it's wrong. I mean, it's especially when it's pushing like feelings, like trauma is a feeling as much as it's an experience. So you're only going to get more feelings, more trauma. Nobody's going to be able to pull apart the personal aspect. And every time you attack an idea, which and there's some bad ideas out there, people are going to be like, but what about the people that, and it's like, no, we're not talking about them. We're not talking about the people that weren't the ones that went into a Christian school today and shot a bunch of people.
Yeah. So well, screw them. Just real quick before we head on to our next
I'm talking
story
about
here.
the person that did do it.
Before we move on to our closer here, we got 22 people watching us on YouTube and another 15 people watching us on Rumble. So, I mean, if you guys haven't already pressed the like button or subscribe, go ahead and do that now because we're moving over to our closer of the night. And I'm glad I got that story out of the way because we're going to live into something a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more happy because I think, we've all been driven to the point of insanity and rage and wrath. So let's go ahead and bring it back here. Alexa PenaVega. So we talked about this a little bit earlier with Disney Channel stars about how most of them screwed up because things that they've experienced within the industry. It seems like we have at least one star who wasn't completely screwed up. Alexa, if you guys remember, was the girl from the Spy Kids movie series that came out about 20 years ago. So it's been a while here, but we talked about her I think a few months back. Her and her husband Carlos left LA, left California, left the industry, moved to Hawaii to raise their kids, and now fairly recently Alexa's come out saying that she supports the pro-life movement and went as far as to help one of her fans not go through an abortion. So this is the story here. Alexa PenaVega, who is known for being a teen star in the Spy Kids series, recently said that not only is she a believer in the pro-life movement, but she even helped a young woman decide against going for her abortion. So she spoke out with Live Action, which you guys don't know is a pro-life network podcast. She went and did a podcast with Christine Jurgen, I believe is her name, for the students of life, and she talked about her pro-life views and kind of how that has shifted her beliefs over the last few years. He says that I honestly believe that either you believe in life as a whole, as you see babies, whether babies are in the womb or outside of the womb, as life, or you don't. And once life begins, that is the whole. That is a whole baby. That is a beautiful life. And for me, I will do whatever it takes to protect that. So the 34-year-old actress, didn't mean to age her there, said that she also practiced what she preaches. She said that she talked to a fan, one of her fans of hers who was a teenage girl who was thinking about going through an abortion to get rid of her baby, and she essentially talked her out of doing so. She says that I was so excited about the possibility, but I never had the conversation before. What do I even say to a young girl who's in this position? I think that when she was 16 or 17, she was in a position of I don't really know what to do. She said, I told her about the joy that I have with my kids. It's the greatest thing that I have felt, and I feel like being able to tuck them. I felt the greatest feeling that I felt ever was being able to tuck them in at night, seeing their beautiful sleeping little faces. Those are the moments that are so life-giving. They're so simple, yet they're so beautiful, the things you can experience as a mother. She said that she even promised to be in the girl's life, the young mother's life, throughout her pregnancy and birth, and if needed be. He said, even to play the tiniest role in that girl's life, I will forever feel connected to her, she said. So she also addressed some of the accusations of abortionists, people who are pro-abortion, many on the left, saying that Christians stop caring about a young mother after they decide to abort the baby and abandon them. So I think that a lot of people in today's day and age, if you're pro-life, that means you're just pro-birth. I think it's a big misconception. Being pro-life means that all life, looking at the aspect of a child, but also the mother needs resources, the mother needs help. She needs love and guidance and sometimes finances, she said. Go back to here. He says, I think that we're just in a dark place in our world. People calling good bad and bad good, and we're seeing it fully. We're in a war right now, and it breaks my heart that people have been really manipulated into thinking that human life is just so disposable that they can't even look at a baby as a human life. So she talked about how these things obviously are not going to help her get any movie roles in her industry of Hollywood. But we talked about this a few months back, how she felt like she couldn't stay in the Hollywood industry right now. Her and her husband were both born-again Christians. They both found Jesus. Jesus moved away from Hollywood, said their heart couldn't be there anymore, and they're moving their life in a completely better direction as a result of it. So it is good to hear a story about someone who made it in that industry, who seems to be having, life in a positive direction, not completely messed up, especially when we're talking about people like Amanda Bynes and Selena Gomez and, the Demi Lovatos who have gone the complete other direction. It's good to actually talk about someone who's got their life together. So, Johnson, I know you love to talk. Let's keep
Yay.
it short here. What do you think of
You guys are
Alexis?
welcome to interrupt me. I mean, like, part of the reason, like, I keep talking is because, like, I'm shocked people don't interrupt me.
Would you please shut the hell up?
Okay. But no, you can talk now, though, because now I say you can speak, so go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me permission.
Yes.
Speak, wench.
Okay. Good for her. I would totally do the same thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, short and sweet.
Wow.
I
Okay, that
don't have
works.
much to contribute here. But yeah,
I
good
see
for
this as a
her.
win.
She seems to know what she wants, and she's supporting that vision for what she believes in. So that's good for her. But yeah, I have no further insight. See, it's easier to talk shit about people that are worth criticizing. I can't criticize this person, so I am completely empty in terms of having anything
out
to
of
say.
out of your element.
I mean,
Yep.
it's like it's one of those things where you could really value someone that assesses their life and the situation that they're in, and they deem it as, yeah, this isn't healthy for the lifestyle I want to live, so I'm going to do whatever I have to do, make the sacrifices that I need to make in order to make sure that, you know, my life, my family, my children are going to be in a better situation. And that's something to, you know, to value. I think that that's important for sure. A lot of people should be willing to make these sacrifices when necessary, especially with that the evil apple that is Hollywood. You know, so you know what, that's good. That she found her happiness by doing that, and it's not an easy thing to walk away from money, but sometimes you know you have to, especially if you value other things other than money. But when it comes to like in regards to the whole thing about, you know, abortion, pro-life situation, I've always said that a law isn't going to change how people think. The best way to go about, you know, giving, you know, children, unborn children, a chance at life is to change people's perception to value life more entirely. Not even just from the perspective of abortion, but just generally speaking. Like, I feel like the value of life in the minds of the first world society is more devalued than ever before. And anything to help encourage, to value life, to love people, to be better, to look at, you know, a fetus and be like, yeah, that could be, you know, anybody someday, a doctor, you know, whatever have you. Like these are things that need to be put in the forefront. Our society, while I'm not necessarily the most religious person by any means, but I feel as though, you know, religion doesn't necessarily have to teach morals, but if there's no like way to do that structuredly, to teach basic morals, then we do have a problem. I don't think that religion is necessarily the best way to teach morals. I think that there's ways of doing that haven't been normalized yet. So, but, you know, in some ways religion does instill morality. And I think that that's, you know, a good thing as long as it's not authoritarian by any means. But yeah, like this is a good thing. Value human life. Work on that, everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, Alexa and Carlos PenaVega have always, well, I guess, I don't know always, but they've been very open about their faith and being born again Christians. I think they even have like a little Bible study podcast or something like that. I think I've run across it once. This is in keeping with her worldview, that she sees this individual who's going through a crisis. What, she was 16, 17, very young, and finds herself pregnant. So they're presenting this option of taking of abortion, which would be what, taking life from their perspective. And so she says, no, you know, this I've had great joy in motherhood, and you know, give this child a chance to live, and you will find that you will have a reward, not financial, but certainly in your heart and in your soul. Again, this is in keeping with the PenaVegas' worldview. So if it's a good thing if this mother and this child now have a chance for a fresh start. And she did bring up an interesting point, that idea that a lot of people who are in favor of having greater abortions or greater access and all that, if that they say, well, as soon as they're born, you want them to starve, you want them to live miserable lives, you don't care, you only want them to be breeders, and that's it. And she says, no, they have a responsibility. And I think that's what where traditionally would be, what the family would come in, the church would come in, the
Community.
greater, yeah, the greater community would come in. It would not be the solution that a lot of these pro, well, I'll use the term that they like to say. They say we're anti-choice. I'll say anti-life. The anti-life, quote unquote, people would say the state will raise your child. And we're just gonna share something here, a little indulgence. Um, I think my mom, when I was born, my mom was offered the chance, to get on welfare and to raise a child. And I think one of her friends, well-meaning, said, "Well, the state will pay for it. Will pay for the child. We'll pay for you, and we'll pay for all this." And my mom responded, "Well, the state didn't have the child. I did." So my mom was of the old school that thought it was the parents' responsibility. Now, granted, my father and my mother divorced, and so my dad had no interest in my life. But she said it was, she decided that it was going to be her responsibility, not the state's. Sure, you could get help from relatives because that's still family. So that was her mindset. That's what I grew up. Those were the values that I was given. And I think society has not had those values. These values have been more, well, it's a problem to take care of, so abort the child. Or, yes, once the child's born, that's when the state has to come in and take care of all the child's needs. I don't know any individual's cases, but for this one person that has their child, I wish them the very best, and I hope that the mother and the child have long and happy and productive lives. And that's what we should wish for every person that is born and is blessed with motherhood, because motherhood is a blessing. I mean, being a parent is a blessing. That's my take on it.
Yeah, like I said, what's the best way to word this without just going on to a complete tangent? Here's the thing. I've gotten to a point where I've kind of struggled with this too, because look, we all know that I've reviewed a lot of movies. I've been a huge movie cinema fan, Hollywood fan for many years. But as a lot of people have, I've come to see what the industry has become. So I do feel better for people who just kind of just got to get out altogether just for their own sanity and for their own health. And we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, because obviously, as you guys know, I've been using the bumper. What's her name? Grace Curry, and her number one fan, the girl from Shazam and whatnot. And I know she doesn't have like any other new projects out at the moment. I'm pretty sure that will change, but maybe it won't change because Shazam 2 was actually did pretty awful in the movie theaters. But I was kind of looking at it from the perspective, it's like, I don't know, is it a good thing for her to get more movie roles and get even deeper in this industry, or maybe you should just get out while you can? I mean, hell, at this point, I'd rather just do Hallmark and like Great American Family movies rather than doing anything within the actual Hollywood business, because it seems like everyone who gets too deep into it just loses their soul, just both literally and figuratively, if you really think about it. And to kind of see like people like Alexa and like her husband, who I believe was on a Nickelodeon show, Big Time Rush as well, to kind of see them being child stars in the industry, getting out of that whole situation and distancing themselves as far as they can from the whole industry. It's like, I'm glad to see that there are some stories like that it's not just all stories of, well, they were naked going crazy in Los Angeles on a Sunday afternoon and back to the mental shack and stuff like that. And another person who I look to is Christy Carson Romano. Now, if you follow Christy Carson Romano, she played Ren Stevens on the Even Stevens show back in like the early 2000s. She's been pretty open about the last like few years of her life, about burning out in Hollywood and losing all of her money, and just like kind of like being in a complete like downward spiral. And she moved to Texas. She seemingly kind of like gotten away from that, and she is seemingly trying to like help a lot of like child actors in the industry now. now. I get some kind of like protection for people in the industry, and I kind of commend her for doing that. But at the same time, I feel like she's still kind of like 1 foot into the industry, like as well as she doesn't want to like leave like entirely, but she being in her position, being in the ins and out of it, like you can condemn like a lot more what's going on in that industry now more than anybody else. So I'm glad to see that there's some people that look and know what the town of Hollywood is doing to like a lot of these kids, and just saying, hey, look, you know what, I came into this with this dream that I was going to be this big actor. Now that I'm starting to see that what I was being sold at as a kid isn't exactly reality and not something that I want to be a part of, as hey, look, just count your losses and go away. There's a little saying about, get in while the getting is good, and if you're hot on a poker table, just walk away while you can, while you still have something at least to salvage, rather than going full tilt and sleeping on the bus stop somewhere because you blew all your money. So that was a long way to go. Say just get out while you can, people.
Well, I would say that Alexa's not completely closed off to the idea of going back and doing another movie or TV series if it were offered. I think Carlos PenaVega, didn't he do like a Big Time Rush reunion recently? So he's also not averse.
I'm not a Big Time Rush fan, so I mean I wouldn't know, but
neither am I.
Yeah.
But they're not. I don't think they're completely averse to coming back. But it has to be something to match their beliefs and their values. I mean, the same thing with what was it, Candace Cameron Bure and Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron famously doesn't want to do any even kissing scenes that are not with his wife.
Yeah.
And Candace Cameron Bure, she moved away from Hallmark and is not doing that Great American. She's now one of the queens of that network for their movies.
Great American TV or Family or whatever it is. Yeah,
exactly. So they're still working on projects that reflect their values, and I give them credit for that, because that's they still want to do something in the industry, but they're not going to do something that goes against their belief system, whatever that may be. So I respect them for that. And that's their right, if they can find projects or fund their own projects. So,
Or like I said, I mean, Hollywood doesn't have to be the only way to do film and TV shows. I mean, if we actually started like producing some of our own systems outside of that. Now I know it's hard because Hollywood has all the money, because Hollywood is nothing more but like 3 or 4 mega corporations at this point, where it's like Disney, Comcast, Warner Brothers, and Sony. So I understand that it's still attractive because they can offer you more money and stuff like that, and they have distribution. But you have to ask yourself at this point, what is the cost? And for a lot of people, they have no problem with buying into the cost of Hollywood, but at the end of the day, that money's only going to get you so far. And there's been so many people over the years who have paid the ultimate price for that little bit of the little bit of silver that. Hey, what can you say?
I will say, like on that end, like you can see there is the technology and the skills are being more decentralized from Hollywood, so it's a good thing. There are a lot more issues with like gatekeeping stuff, which is why the award stuff is so like they changed the rules that you have to have so many diversity people on staff or on the scene or whatever, those things. But like even in publishing, I can tell you I've been doing it for 10 years, and it's changed so radically in 10 years. That 10 years from now, I imagine film will be very similar. I mean, like, because you already kind of see it now. Like before, probably like before like 2010, around that area, like indie films had their own kind of, like they got their funding, they had their ways of getting the film funded and out there and distributed and stuff. Now, on top of that, like 10 years later, you have a lot more resources and a lot more people that are picking up on them. And so you do see them taking away a lot of the mainstream stuff. And even like that, to the point where like the tentpole films are suffering because they're just not that good. So,
well, I mean, it's very interesting that you say that, because let's just say at the end of the 90s, they had what was called the mid-budget adult movie. It was anywhere between 60 and 90 million dollars, and these were casted so like there were 15 names in the cast that you knew, good actors, like top talent, whatever. Then by 2010, that shrinked maybe 30 to 40 million. maybe creeps up to 50 million, and maybe there's only 6 really well-known people, but hey, it's still a really good cast of 6 or 7 people. Now it's like you can afford 2
John
or
Wick.
3, and the budget is right. But that's what I mean, though. It's like this is what's happened to the industry, is that it's almost like they knew in the 80s when they were doing all that commercial crap, no offense, that everybody loves. It's like they knew, oh, hey, this is going to slowly bleed itself out over the next 30 to 40 years. Because it's seemingly that's what happened when the corporations took over and the studios stopped, being based in Hollywood, and they were, based on these multinational corporations. It's just like everything else, they lost focus of what mattered. So here we are.
Well, I mean, that's a big problem in society in general with focus, because like most of these films have bad writing, and you can tell where the studios made notes, and actors have their own screenwriters that they bring along, and they have a certain amount of say in the script, whether or not they're going to follow along with, what they're supposed to do. And I mean, like I have friends that work on movie sets, and I can tell you some of them are like, yeah, they got the script half done, and they'll probably make it up more tomorrow, and it's really kind of sad.
Well, we've come to the end of our show tonight. I think we had a lot of fiery discussion on this show. Got a little bit heated, not at each other, but just at others and at society in general. But we've come back from the other side of that, so we're going to go ahead and wrap things up and let you guys promote and show all the crap that you guys are working on so that we can move on with our lives. We're going to start off with our good buddy here, Orange Hat Reviews, who's trying to kick out of, 3 kidney stones right now? But, I mean, hopefully...
Oh, yeah. No. I'm Orange Hat Reviews. I do movie reviews, entertainment news. I do mystery reviews where I give hints on next week is the Easter reviews for the month of April. It's a resurrection theme where every movie has a character who is revived or resurrected in a way. The first one is the hint for next week's is a mother resurrected. So if you know it, don't spoil it. I'm also getting back into franchise movie discussion reviews, and C.S. Johnson's going to be on the panel for that. She has expressed interest. We're going to be talking the MCU's Infinity Saga. Nothing beyond that, just the Infinity Saga, because that was Marvel at its best, with a little bit of downhill near the end. But other than that, I also do guest choice reviews, which Cassie can attest to. Those are pretty fun. You get to pick the time, the date, and the movie, where I only get to pick the venue, which is my channel, and we just get to talk about the movie, have fun. It's a pretty good hour or two of just chilling and shooting the shit on movies we love. Other than that, I also cover entertainment news. It's been slow because I've been dealing with the kidney stones and whatnot. But I'm also going to work on getting more movie reviews out as I can because of slower content right now. But yeah, that's basically what I do.
Is slower content an innuendo for your kidney stones?
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up? There's my Twitter, and I watch like 15
He
movies
is so
a week.
high.
And I'll probably be watching more since I'll be home. But yeah, so check out my Twitter. I'm watching lots of movies, trying to keep sane here in Washington State, where it's spring, but it's still freezing outside. So.
Yeah, get the hell out of Washington, bro. Just time to pull the plug. All right, I know Johnson has something that she wants everyone to talk about.
Yes, I'm nagging you about it behind the scenes.
Begging.
So yes, begging. So yes, so speaking of changing the culture, changing hearts, changing minds. I have a comic coming out. Give me your money. Thank you. No, so this is my comic for it's coming out next month. But it's set in Atlanta. If you didn't know, I live in Atlanta, or near Atlanta at least. And yeah, we just have a lot of human traffickers here apparently. So it would be
Yeah.
good if we could get some guy to come along and find them and beat them up for us. And that's basically why you should support this. Is you know, Cassie talked about like how laws don't change hearts, and it's like it's true, but a lot of the time the laws are changed because hearts are changed, and I think that this is, uh, it's something I'd like to happen. So, like I said, I live near Atlanta. It's taken me. I've been tempted this week a couple times to just go down to like the Warner Brothers studio and be like, hey, I'm the mom that hates your television. Appease me. Yep. I've got better ideas than your nepto hires. So.
All right, hopping over to our good buddy Cassie Cage. How you guys doing? How you doing? How you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Everything's been pretty good. Can't complain. It was a good show. Had a lot of fun as always. If you like the discussion about video games, definitely check me out on YouTube, Cult Classic Cage. Been making fun of both Xbox and PlayStation fanboys for their mental gymnastics and insanity. So I guess maybe that'd be my way of keeping people a little more grounded, or at least making good entertainment. So that's a thing. Was talking about why does E3 exist anymore? Yeah, I don't know why. Everyone that has a meaningful name in the industry has said, yeah, we pulled out. We're not doing this anymore. So I just find it interesting. Going to have to dump on Sony for making a garbage PC port of The Last of Us, because that's become a thing on PC and I'm not a fan of it. So yeah, guys, if you're into gaming, entertainment, I love to talk about film as well. Tend to watch films on Sundays and give my thoughts on them, and you can see my insane reactions to some of them, because I'm like shocked by how some of these movies were not released, but they were escaped, like The Toxic Avenger. Yeah, that one I'm trying to mentally wrap my brain around. So yeah, guys, this Thursday actually also got the Too Real for Feels podcast. So if you're into podcasts discussing gaming and film, definitely check that out. And once again, Cult Classic Cage on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and I have started a Kick account. You guys might want to check into that. It's pretty much a decent Twitch alternative. So
you've mentioned Kick like 3 weeks in a row, and I still forget to go back and actually check it out. So
yeah.
All right, then, and then least, Rick.
I feel the love. All right. Well, all I've got coming up are just more reviews, including my upcoming review of the baseball-related film to coincide with opening day. And I'm just really looking forward to having baseball season back and seeing it live in person. And that's really it. Just catching up on reviews that I have backlogged. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I have nothing else. I have nothing to sell.
Yes, viva los Mets. Yes.
Ay, muérdete la lengua. Se haga chicharrón. That's my mother said.
Rick, you do have something to sell. You can hawk the Barroom commemorative T-shirt that's on my site. So.
Oh, okay. All righty. Another time I'll have to remember to wear the shirt that you made to a future game, and then I'll have to explain to everyone who Gene Kelly is, and I'll say he was his generation.
Okay, enough of this. So tomorrow night, we're going to be doing the Black Pill stream on Bounding in the Comics YouTube. So myself, Spencer, John, Josh, Cider, we're all going to be talking about the big stories of the week. We're obviously going to be covering Jonathan Majors. I know there's a couple other pretty big stories that just dropped on Bounding in the Comics as well. So go check those guys out over there. We're going to be doing that tomorrow. And then, let's see, Saturday. No, that's next Saturday. Okay, I thought we had a UFC this weekend, but that's next weekend, so we don't have to worry about that right now. But next Monday night on Rumble and on Twitch. So if you haven't subscribed already, the links are in the description down below. Subscribe to Rumble and Twitch. We're going to be doing movie night. We're going to be watching the 1984 film Cobra with Sylvester Stallone. So that's going to be a fun night with us. We were supposed to watch House Party, but then this guy over here poo-pooed on the idea. So we're going to be watching Cobra instead, so blame him.
Thank you, Rob.
No, the original, not the remake.
Yeah, exactly. The good movie.
Doesn't
not
make
that
much of a
horrible one.
difference.
Blasphemer.
And then, like I said, next week we'll be back here, episode 42 of the Barroom Podcast. We've made it all the way to 42 of these things. So for all my guests here tonight, I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I possible to give a shout out to everyone who was here on the show here tonight, because there's a lot of you guys now. I don't know why all of you guys like listening to this on Tuesday nights, but Duke Nukem, Zero Dozer, Neo, who's joining us, our good buddy John, who was here earlier tonight, DK was in the chat with us, Drax the Clown, Neo, JEC, Rich Swaglor, who was here with us here tonight. Let me see if make sure I don't miss anybody else. I'm not going to mention any of those guys because you guys are on the show. Alex versus Evil, Tommy Moore, who was here tonight, Monkey Jeebus, who braced us with his presence here tonight on the show. I had to give a shout out to DK already. Mephisto for reviews. Mephisto Reviews is here for a quick little drive-by, so shout out to him tonight. And did I get everybody? Is that everyone? I think that's about everyone. So for everyone who joined us here on YouTube, for our Rumble, on Twitch, we're glad to spend another Tuesday night with us. We're going to go ahead and log off here and go to bed pretty soon. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow night on Bounding in the Comics. We'll see you next week here on the show. So wave to the crowd, everybody. We're going to hit the spring yard and get the hell out of here. Adios.
Night, folks.